Hey everyone, Alpha Frame here. Today I'm going to be doing analysis of my favorite character in Warzone, obviously, Alpha, because I'm Alpha Frame. So, pretty much I'm going to be showing you guys my thought process, what I do to optimize my gameplay. Not saying it's the best, but this is what I do and it works. And it works competitively. But, take it as what you will, because this is also a bit of a whale perspective, although some of this can carry over to free-to-play elements as well. And without further ado, let's go. So everything I'm doing right now, in the beginning of this video, is building up orbs and waiting for that matrix to hit. Sometimes you'll see people just go up to them and wait until that matrix, but I like to attack them with normal attacks. That way I can at least build maybe 1 or 2 orbs extra before I actually get into matrix and start sword waving. This one's pretty obvious right here. So as you can see, I only shot out I think 2 sword waves. I knew it would kill them because I've done this run plenty of times now. By doing that, I'm saving my sword waves. And into this next wave, you'll see that maybe I throw maybe like 3 or 4 sword waves and I go into normal attacks. Why? Because I want to save orbs and I don't want to waste any unnecessary sword waves. Also, thank you to Jamframe, because I usually don't heavily use Alpha like this, so he's helped me optimize my gameplay, as well as people in the PGR wiki Discord. Thank you. So, as you can see, I decided to switch out because my method, since I'm a switching kind of player, my method is that as soon as I finish doing all that with Alpha, I'm going to switch off into Karen. But before that, I'm going to see if I can pop any blue debuffs to lower the enemy's defense before I actually switch to Karen, which is why I have Nanami in this run. Although it's not too necessary, you can probably just keep Alpha on the field 100% of the time. And for this specific Warzone, it was actually just as good, if not better. I seen there's 2 other players that scored higher than me in this Warzone, I think. And all they did was 100% Alpha. So if you're running 100% Alpha because you're a lower spender and you have to utilize her, don't worry. So all I did was clear off the waves with Karnina. Sometimes I probably don't go for 2 wave completions. I could have, before I did anything, what I could have done was just suction them and switch back to Alpha. Where's that part? I'll show you right here. Right here. As soon as I did this suction right here, I could have just switched back to Alpha and then called it good instead of popping these QTEs. But I was being greedy, and that greed paid off. And another reason is that these mobs at the time, they were kind of buggy, and they wouldn't attack me, even though they don't have a frail debuff, which makes mobs less likely to attack you. So that's just something to note. Yeah. So right before I switched back to Alpha, I used Nanami because I knew she had yellow orbs. That way I can get a Karen QTE and pop these guys back into an optimal place. Because by the time I Matrix again with Alpha, I'll have a Da Vinci proc, right? And as soon as I use that, it'll pretty much let me use Karen again. So I pretty much use the Karen QTE for free. What would have been better if I was running 100% Alpha was just have a double Da Vinci set, and you can just juggle whenever you want the cooldowns. So another thing to mention right here is that whenever I switch into Alpha, whenever I'm using Alpha, I am literally trying to go for using Matrix off cooldown. If I get hit, this run is most likely over, because, or if I get hit where I can't keep attacking and being offensive, I'll probably cancel the run because you lose all your momentum. You have to wait for a next opportunity for Matrix, and that's like 5 seconds. That mistake will cost you time, and that time is not worth, uh, continuing the run. See, right there is a mistake. I started sword waving too early, and I wasted some of them. I could have saved this for later. Could have helped me later. That's just something to be aware of while analyzing yourself. But it's a good thing that I did kind of bounce back here and started building up orbs again. I'm already back at 16, so it's not too much of a mistake. But I just want to get into good habits. Alright, as you can see, I probably popped maybe like 4 or 5 sword waves there, and then I started using ulti. First is because I want to conserve my sword waves and for the next one, and because then using more than 4 or 5 is kind of much, a lot. So I also knew that he'd be low HP at this point, so I popped ulti, and it's probably going to be this method that happens. As soon as he dies, the end of my ultimate is going to carry over to the next wave and hit the mobs, which is something I love to do, as you guys may have seen in my Watanabe video. That's an extremely integral thing, because it stops all those trash mobs around, like, you know how there's like one big elite mob and there's a bunch of trash mobs? It'll help clean up the trash mobs, and usually those ones are the ones that like to spread out and ruin your runs. But yep, boom, and then it hit the trash mobs. Didn't kill them, but that's the concept I'm trying to teach you. So I got out of the fire there, just being aware of my environment, optimizing my sword waves for the next. I didn't believe that I would have got the Matrix in time. That's why you saw me manually hit a double 3 ping. I just didn't think I would be able to hit the Matrix. Although, if I knew, it would have been better to utilize that. Okay, so carrying over to the next wave, I knew none of these guys had any debuffs on them, so there was no point in me to continue wasting my sword waves. And I was almost close to a Matrix, so right here, I unfortunately got a bit of a shitty orb setup. Here we go. So I switched to Karen because I couldn't do anything else with Alpha, at least I felt. So I just started suctioning them in and just doing as much damage as you can. Yeah, but if you're doing 100% Alpha, you just stay on the field. That's really it. Warzone, for me, is like, and for a lot of people, is a lot about knowing your wave composition, how things are set up, where you need to stand in between waves. Yeah, but I don't do a lot of that planning. It just kind of comes with it as you do a lot of runs. But if you do want to optimize your time, think about where you're standing in relation to like where the mobs are spawning, because I know like what some really good players do is that when they go through these waves, they map out where they stand. That way, where they're standing with Alpha, that way they can repeat the way they group mobs up. So for example, if I'm standing south with Alpha and they all decide to spread out, but they never do that if I stand north, that's something to note and something to remember for future runs. For this run, I usually stood west or east. That way they would group up easier for me. But yeah, so to sum it up, what I want to say is that you need to understand your wave composition, number 1. Number 2 is optimizing your orb usage, knowing when your Matrix is coming off cooldown, knowing how to manage your QTEs. For example, when I spoke about using Karen QTE, then using Da Vinci to kind of reset that and then use it again. Those little tricks bring you a long way. That separates you from a player getting like 20k points, and that separates you from getting maybe 20% more, 30% more than that guy. It's because you decided to pay attention to the little details. Warzone is all about the little details. But it's just also up to you if you want to be committed to doing this a lot of times. Because at the end of the day, it's still modeling. You still have to rely on some RNG elements, like, if the mobs decide to spread out no matter what the hell you did. Just stuff like that. And yeah, I'm going to be moving on to discuss the build next. Alright guys, here's my updated build as of literally today. In the video I didn't have as great resonance as this, but I still had 6 blade wheels. but I just had a lot of garbage top slots probably. I've been re-rolling for a long time. Anyway, that aside, let's get to the build. So for alpha for Warzone, I highly recommend using a patent if you want to do this competitively, or if you really need that extra edge. Frederick can bring you such a long way, but at the end of the day, patent is gonna be what makes the defining difference when it comes to like competitive edge and getting those extra, I would say maybe 30k points, or if it makes the difference between whether you want to get to wave 9 and 10. I have a whole video about this, I'll put it in the description, so I don't want to talk about patent too much. Aside from that, I'm running obviously a fully resonated weapon for all the characters in my team, but it doesn't really matter because nowadays I'm leaning more toward a 100% alpha build, maybe 90-10, just because I've seen how much I feel like it's personally easier as long as you know what you're doing, as long as you understand your waves. You can plan and use alpha more often. And the reason I'm saying that is because if you have alpha on the field more, not only you can generate orbs more, you don't have to rely on other characters' garbage damage, while you have alpha as like one beefy unit, right? And not to mention, the more orbs you expend, the faster you get to use ulti. And ulti in between sword waves, like I always try to use ultimate in between sword waves, because by the end of that ulti, I'll be really close to a matrix, and that way I'll be right back ready to sword wave again. So there's my notes on alpha there. Although currently, because I don't have a double Da Vinci, alright, I am using a sub DPS, about a 90% to 10% ratio from main and sub DPS. Karen, of course, is your go-to for an alpha team. She's using Hana and Catherine. I never re-rolled any of this, okay? So I don't know if it's good, but if it is, I'm lucky, alright? So, but that just goes to show how even more effective it is to have alpha just on the field. But if you have more of like a whale account like mine, it's pretty beneficial to have this, because if you have alpha on the field all of the time, think about it. You have to rely on her for all those dodges, so you might run out, or you have to just be really precise. And mobs are gonna spread out much more often. Although you can counteract it with the Da Vinci set, it's still a pain in the ass. It doesn't change anything. So what I like to do sometimes is switch to Karen, because she has blue orbs and she can just suck everything up, kill them instantly, and I don't have to wait for an O matrix. I can just do it. Really helps with mob control, helps with the aggressive style that I have. So that's a benefit. Less reliance on RNG elements such as spreading out mobs. I don't have to build up more orbs for alpha or waste a sword wave on a wave that was really easy. Although there are some waves that you can carry sword waves over. Like for example, you clear wave 1 and then sword wave into wave 2, right? That's really useful. But if you don't need that kind of situation and you just want to clear out maybe one wave, maybe like wave 4, right before 5, right? I'll pull out Karen, kill them all, and by the time they all die, switch right back to alpha. But her damage falls off generally around wave 6, alright? So it really depends. You have to kind of understand your own Karen's damage before you really get into it. But just note that she can be a useful sub DPS, but you have to be very aware of the situation that you're in before you decide to switch to her. In my video, I was using Nanami, although I'm just using Kamui right now because he has a 10% physical down buff once you hit him. But you can also utilize Nanami's blue orbs. That's why you saw in my video that I would use Nanami's blue orbs before switching to Karen. Alright, that way it makes her even stronger and more capable of clearing a wave the higher you go. Although that's not necessary. But since then, I've been trying to transition and understand the 100% alpha gameplay. It's more of an experiment of mine. But they're both, honestly, if you play your cards right, they can both be pretty neck and neck in damage. So it's really what you prefer. So if you really prefer one style, don't feel like what I'm saying is gonna bind you down to a certain way of playing, alright? These are just more things for you to note. But right now, I don't like switching to Nanami anymore lately. And I don't really need to use Karen that much. And since, you know, I'm going for that 100% playstyle, Kamui is the no-brainer. Ayla can also be used as well. The only reason I'm not using her is because my Kamui has a 6-star weapon, my Ayla has a 5-star, since, you know, Ayla's 6-star weapon doesn't seem worth buying. Also, something to note, unlike Kamui, I feel like Ayla is really useful when it comes to killing off these trash mobs to the side. Compared to Kamui, he feels so single target focused, and sometimes it's just easier to have Ayla as the QTE bot instead of him because she hits a wider radius. Although that could be placebo for me, take it as you will, please try it out yourself. That's really all that I have for that. He's just running your standard Da Vinci, and you know, she has 4 Hana, 2 Catherine, and then your guys already know what Alpha has. Yeah, so that's pretty much all I have for the video. If you have any comments or concerns, something I missed, please let me know. I don't think everything I said is like, you know, the gospel of Alpha, but I feel like these are really great in-depth tips that a lot of people don't know, and I've decided to share the secrets today, and these little things that, you know, people might not know, because, you know, once people start getting better with Alpha, people start innovating even harder. So think about it, you know, there could be even more things Alpha is more capable of, especially in the future when Rosetta comes down the line. But thank you guys for listening to me ramble, rant, whatever. Appreciate it. I'll see you guys in the next video.